Most people don't struggle because they lack intelligence. They struggle because life quietly teaches them the wrong lessons. We are surrounded by advice, but very little wisdom. The words you're about to hear didn't come from comfort. They came from failure, exile, loneliness, war, doubt, and silence. These aren't motivational quotes. They are answers, given by people who lived long enough and to understand the cost of being human. Let's begin. Romain Rolland. Instead of spending your time and energy digging many shallow wells, use that same time and strength to dig one deep well. Most people don't fail because they lack effort. They fail because their effort is scattered. Romain Rolland lived in a time where ambition was praised, but depth was rare. He watched talented people exhaust themselves chasing many directions at once, learning a little of everything, mastering nothing. At first, this looks productive. Busy schedules, many plans, constant motion, but motion is not progress. A shallow well gives water quickly, but it dries fast. A deep well takes patience, loneliness, and repetition, but once it reaches water, it sustains life. Rolland understood a quiet truth. Focus is not restriction, it is refinement. To dig deeply means saying no. No to distractions that feel exciting. No to paths that look impressive but don't matter to you. No to the fear of missing out. Most people are afraid of choosing one direction because it feels like closing doors, but not choosing closes all of them slowly. Depth creates authority. Authority creates freedom, and freedom, real freedom, only comes after commitment. Andre Gide. A man cannot discover new oceans unless he has the courage to lose sight of the shore. Gide didn't mean adventure in the romantic sense. He meant psychological separation. The shore is not safety. The shore is habit. It's the job you tolerate, the identity people expect from you, the version of yourself that no longer fits, but feels familiar. Leaving the shore feels irresponsible because society rewards consistency. But consistency without growth is stagnation with good manners. Gide understood something uncomfortable. Clarity rarely comes before movement. Most people wait to feel ready. But readiness is usually the reward for action, not the requirement. The ocean represents uncertainty, loneliness, periods where no one applauds your choice. And yet, nothing new is found without it. You don't discover who you are by staying where you're understood. You discover yourself by walking into places where you're not. Rabindranath Tagore. If you cry because the sun has gone out of your life, your tears will prevent you from seeing the stars. Tagore did not dismiss grief. He respected it. But he warned against letting grief define perception. Loss narrows vision. It convinces us that what ended was everything. When something meaningful leaves, a relationship, a role, a dream, the pain feels total. But life doesn't end. It changes form. The stars are not replacements for the sun. They are reminders that meaning exists beyond one chapter. Tagore's wisdom lies in timing. Grief deserves space, but not sovereignty. You are allowed to mourn, but you are also allowed to continue. And sometimes, the quiet beauty that follows loss is deeper than what came before. Winston Churchill. You will never reach your destination if you stop to throw stones at every barking dog. Churchill faced ridicule long before leadership. Criticism was constant. Approval was rare. If he had responded to every insult, he would have vanished into reaction. This quote isn't about ignoring feedback. It's about conserving direction. Every response costs energy. Every distraction delays movement. Not all noise deserves attention. Not all opinions deserve weight. Churchill understood that progress requires selective deafness. When you walk forward, there will always be barking from those behind you, beside you, sometimes even ahead. But stopping to argue with every voice guarantees one outcome. You stay where you are. Focus is not arrogance, it's discipline. Mo Yan, live for those who love you. Don't waste your life trying to please those who don't. Mo Yan grew up invisible. Poverty teaches a harsh clarity early. Approval is unreliable. Many people waste their lives negotiating acceptance from those who gain nothing by giving it. Trying to be liked by everyone slowly erases the self. Love does not demand performance. Approval always does. The tragedy is subtle. People chase validation so long they forget who they were before the chase began. Mo Yan's message is not selfishness. It is precision. Invest where warmth exists. Withdraw where only judgment remains. Peace is not found by winning over critics. It is found by standing with those who already see you. Doris Lessing, when you choose a different way of living, why should you care how others choose to see you? Most people don't realize how much of their life is spent negotiating permission. Permission to change, permission to rest, permission to want something different. Doris Lessing understood that the moment you step off the expected path, judgment becomes unavoidable. Not because you're wrong, but because your choice threatens the comfort of those who stayed. People don't criticize change because it's dangerous. They criticize it because it reminds them of what they didn't do. The mistake is believing that being understood is a prerequisite for being free. It isn't. Freedom begins the moment you stop asking others to approve the version of you that finally feels honest. Lessing's insight is quiet but ruthless. You cannot live deliberately and be universally accepted at the same time. And that's not a failure of character. It's the cost of alignment. George Bernard Shaw. The reasonable man adapts himself to the world. The unreasonable one persists in trying to adapt the world to himself. Shaw wasn't praising arrogance. He was challenging complacency. Being reasonable often means shrinking, lowering expectations, accepting systems that don't work, and calling it maturity. But progress has never come from adaptation alone. Every meaningful shift in history came from someone who refused to fit quietly into what already existed. The unreasonable person is not reckless. They're committed. They accept friction as part of creation. Shaw reminds us, if you constantly bend to fit the world never has to change. And over time, the cost is internal erosion. You survive, but you don't expand. Albert Camus. Great ideas and great actions have humble beginnings. Fear doesn't come from failure. It comes from imagining the final version too early. Camus understood that paralysis often disguises itself as high standards. People don't start because the beginning feels too small to matter. But beginnings are supposed to be small. What matters is continuation. Camus didn't wait for certainty before acting. He acted inside uncertainty. That's the absurd courage he wrote about. Moving forward without guarantees, not because success is promised, but because meaning is created through movement. Waiting to feel fearless is how fear wins. Ernest Hemingway. The world breaks everyone, and afterward many are strong at the broken places. Hemingway didn't romanticize pain. He respected its inevitability. Suffering is not a personal failure. It's a universal passage. What separates people is not whether they break, but what they build afterward. Some people harden, others deepen. Strength after pain doesn't look loud. It looks grounded. It looks like knowing what matters and no longer arguing with what doesn't. Hemingway's truth is sobering. You don't avoid wounds by living carefully. You only avoid growth. Hermann Hesse. Some of us believe that holding on makes us strong, but sometimes it is letting go. Hesse spent his life exploring inner conflict. He knew that persistence can quietly turn into self-betrayal. Not everything you carry is meant to be carried forever. Some paths end because they were only meant to teach, not last. Letting go feels like failure because effort has already been invested, but effort alone doesn't justify continuation. Strength is not endurance at any cost, it's discernment. Hess's insight closes the circle. Growth is not always about becoming more. Sometimes it's about becoming lighter. Across different eras, cultures, and lives, these voices point to the same quiet truth. A meaningful life is not built by avoiding discomfort, but by choosing which discomfort is worth carrying. Focus over scattering, movement over waiting, truth over comfort, direction over approval. This channel exists for those who sense that truth and are ready to live accordingly.